You don't feel rich, you don't look rich, you don't act rich, but something is happening, something quiet, something most people around you completely miss. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up in signals, 6 of them, and if any of these sound familiar, you're further along than you think. Rewind 4 years, you are 31 years old. You have $340 in your checking account and $23,000 in student loan debt. You make $47,000 a year, which sounds fine until you see where all of it goes: rent, car insurance, food. A streaming subscription you keep meaning to cancel. Nothing accumulates. Money comes in on the 1st and the 15th, and somehow, by the 25th, it has already found somewhere else to be. You are not reckless, you are just running even, and running even feels exactly like standing still. Your coworker Marcus buys a new truck in March. He shows everyone photos in the break room. White pickup, leather interior, monthly payment he calls totally manageable. People crowd around the phone like it's something worth celebrating. You look at the photo, you think about the payment. You think about the insurance, you think about the gap between how that truck looks and what it actually costs every single month. You say nothing, you get your coffee. You go back to your desk. Something about that moment stays with you though. Not the truck, the reaction to the truck. The way a $580 monthly payment gets celebrated like it's an accomplishment. And the quiet question that follows you back to your desk: what if you made a different decision with that $580? That night you do the math. $580 a month, every month for 5 years. Invested instead of spent, at a modest 7% return, that's $41,000 from one decision made differently. You put the pen down, you sit with that for a while. Then one night something else changes. It starts with a book, not a flashy one, no promise on the cover about getting rich in 90 days. Just a worn paperback you find in a used bookstore on a Saturday afternoon, the kind of store that smells like old paper and nobody is in a rush. You read it in 2 evenings. And somewhere in the middle of it, you stop. You read one sentence 3 times. Wealth is not what you spend, it is what you accumulate, 3 times. Then you set the book face down on your chest and you stare at the ceiling for 10 minutes because you realize you have had it backwards. You have been watching people spend money and calling it success. The truck, the apartment upgrade, the designer bag your friend carries to brunch. You have been measuring the wrong things. You close the book, you open your laptop, and for the first time in your adult life, you sit down and actually look, not at your income, at your net worth, the real number. What you own minus what you owe. The number is negative $11,000. That lands in your chest like something cold, but here is what you also notice. For the first time you are looking at it, that matters more than the number. You cannot change what you refuse to see, so you make 3 rules, not because you read them somewhere. Because the math demands them. Rule 1, every time money comes in, something leaves before you can spend it. Automatic, invisible, gone before you feel it. Rule 2. You track your net worth every quarter, not obsessively, just enough to know if the direction is right. Rule 3. You do not explain your decisions to anyone. You are not asking for permission. You are not looking for approval. You say nothing. Simple rules, unremarkable on any given day, devastating over time. Sign 1. Your spending stopped growing when your income did. 6 months after you set the rules, you get a raise. $4,200 more a year, $350 more a month before taxes. Call it $242 after. You sit with that number on the bus ride home. Your first instinct is the apartment, the one you have been looking at online for 3 months. 2 bedrooms, in-unit laundry, a view worth paying for. Your current place works fine. But fine is not the same as better. You know this argument. You have made it before, so you ask yourself the question, not can I afford it? What does this cost me in 10 years? An extra $400 a month in rent, $4,800 a year, $48,000 over a decade, invested instead, at 7%. That is $67,000 from one decision, made quietly. You stay in the apartment. You increase the automatic transfer instead, $242 more per month. It takes 4 minutes. You close the tab. Nobody knows. Your life looks exactly the same from the outside. And that is entirely the point. Sign 2. A surprise expense doesn't ruin your month anymore. 14 months in, your laptop dies. Screen goes black on a Tuesday evening. You take it to the repair shop Wednesday morning. The technician calls at noon. Motherboard, non-repairable. You need a new one. Budget model, refurbished. $680. You say okay. You put your card down, you go back to the office and finish your afternoon. $680. Gone, and that is all it is. Gone, not a crisis, not a spiral, not a thing you are still thinking about on Friday. Just a Wednesday. This is what an emergency fund actually does, not what the financial websites say it does, not 3 to 6 months of expenses as an abstract safety net. It buys you Wednesdays that stay Wednesdays, problems that stay the size they actually are. Your friend Danny from college calls that same week. His car needs brakes and rotors, $920. He is figuring out which card to put it on, which card has enough room. You listen. You do not say what you are thinking, you just listen. Sign 3. You've said no to things you could actually afford. 2 years in, a group text arrives on a Saturday morning. Vegas, a long weekend in April. The breakdown follows in the next message. Flights. Hotel split 4 ways. Estimated spending. A number at the bottom. $1,600. You have $1,600. That is not the question. The question is what $1,600 does from here. You put the phone down. You make coffee. You come back to it 20 minutes later. The answer is the same as when you left. You are not going, not because you cannot afford it. Because the version of you that goes to Vegas comes home with $1,600 less, and nothing changed underneath. The version of you that doesn't go puts that $1,600 into the brokerage account on a Monday morning. Nobody claps for the second choice. That is how you know it is the right one. The discipline does not feel like discipline from the inside. It feels like a preference that got clearer the longer you practiced it. You still want things. You wanted Vegas. You wanted the long weekend and the freedom of spending without thinking. You just wanted the other thing more. Sign 4. Your money is doing work you aren't doing. You set up the index fund account on a Sunday afternoon, 22 months ago. It took 35 minutes. You linked your checking. You scheduled $500 on the first of every month. You closed the laptop. You made lunch. That is the whole story. Last Tuesday night you could not sleep. 2:18 a.m. You opened the app just to look. You had put in $11,000, $20 2 months of $500. The balance read $13,840. The extra $2,840 appeared without you doing a single thing, except not stopping. Your coworker Kevin has a different approach. He picks stocks. Checks them every morning before the market opens. Has opinions about earnings calls. Talks about his portfolio at happy hour like it is a sports team he manages. You nod. You do not say much. Kevin sold everything in March when the market dropped 6%. He got back in 2 months later, at higher prices than when he sold. He does not talk about that part. You stayed in. That is the whole difference, staying in when everything in you wants out. The first of every month the transfer goes through, while you are in the shower, while you are on the bus. While you are doing something completely ordinary, $500 leaves your checking account and becomes something else, something growing, something patient. Nobody knows. Sign 5. You've started measuring time differently than money. The offer arrives on a Thursday afternoon. Different company, better title, $13,000 more per year. You read the email twice. You close your laptop. You go home and sit with it. The commute is 2 hours each way, every day, 4 hours of your life, Monday through Friday. You sit at your kitchen table and you do a different kind of math, not salary math, time math, 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month, 1,000 hours a year, 1,000 hours. In exchange for $13,000, that is $13 an hour for your time, the time you spend reading, thinking, running, cooking, sitting quietly and doing nothing, $13 an hour for that. You decline the offer on Friday morning. Your colleague James thinks you are crazy. $13,000 more a year, he says at lunch. You turn that down, you shrug. You say it wasn't the right fit. He shakes his head like you said something in another language. That's fine. You are not explaining the math to anyone. Something shifted when you stopped measuring life in income and started measuring it in hours. The packed calendar stopped feeling like status. The empty Sunday morning started feeling like something to protect, not because you are lazy, because you finally understand what your time is actually worth. Sign 6. Your net worth is quietly growing, even when you don't feel it. 3 years in, a Sunday in January, nothing special about it, coffee brewing, you open the spreadsheet. The one you update every quarter and do not obsess over. You start entering the numbers, checking, savings, index fund, 401k, you subtract the debt, student loan now down to $8,400. The number at the bottom, Net worth, $60,140. You pull up October's spreadsheet. Net worth in October, $44,900, $15,000 in one quarter. You did not get a windfall. You did not flip anything. You did not have a month where everything broke right. You just did the same quiet things every month, and the number moved without asking your permission. This is the part nobody shows you. Not because it is a secret, because it is invisible while it is happening. Every decision you have made in 3 years lives inside that bottom number. The apartment you did not upgrade. Vegas you did not go to. The transfer that went through on the first of every month. The job offer you declined. All of it sitting there quietly in one line on a spreadsheet. None of it felt like progress while it was happening. That is the honest part. Each decision felt small. Each transfer felt routine. Each refusal felt like nothing. That is exactly what progress looks like from the inside. Like nothing, until you look at the whole picture. Your net worth sits at $60,000 today. That does not sound like wealth yet. You know that, but $60,000 growing measurably every quarter is a completely different thing than $60,000 sitting still. One is a balance, the other is a direction. And you have a direction. Most people will never understand this, not because they cannot, because they are looking for the moment, the big break, the stock that moves. The raise that finally changes everything. They are waiting for wealth to feel like something, but wealth rarely announces itself. It does not arrive in a moment you will recognize. It arrives in the accumulation of moments that felt like nothing, the transfer that cleared on the first, the thing you bought, and then the thing you chose not to buy. The month you stayed in the market when everyone else panicked, the Sunday you protected. You do not feel rich today. That is fine. Feelings are not the metric. The metric is direction. The gap between what comes in and what you spend, widening, the buffer absorbing what life throws, holding the machine running, silently, automatically, whether you are watching or not. The 6 signs were never about the numbers alone. They were about the person you become when you stop spending your life to look like you have won. That person builds something real, quietly. Without asking for anyone's permission or anyone's applause. This week, something ordinary will happen. Pay will arrive. An expense will come up. A choice will appear. Notice the pause before you decide. That pause, that is where everything is built. If this resonated, there are more stories like this on this channel. Grant Richfield. The quiet pursuit of something real.